Hey, welcome back to the Lick of the Week. We're continuing in the single string thread, and what I want to do today is kind of get a little more hardcore with the licks. I know last video we kind of dabbled with some of the scales. We've studied the scale pathways between 1 and 5, and then I had you mess around with some of the basic scale notes like this, and then we added some blues notes, the F and the B flat note from the G blues scale. Now I want to go a step further to make the licks even more interesting, so that you can have a combination of major scale sounding licks, bluesy sounding licks, and now maybe some I don't know, jazzy sounding, ragtime sounding licks. What we're going to do now is use the chromatic interval in between the scale notes, which just happen to be sometimes the same notes of the blues scale. Like the F note and the B flat note are actually two notes that, yes, do belong to the G blues scale, but they're also notes that are in between the scale notes. Think about the lower notes of the G scale, D, E, F sharp, right? Well, you skip over the F note. So the F note is actually chromatic. It's outside the normal scale. We can add it to make it a blues note, yes, but we can also use it just to make some nice sounding runs, say on the bass string. And a lot of players are familiar with that going into D in the context of a Scruggs break. But you can also use it in single string to make some really cool licks over a D chord, but we're primarily concerned with G right now. So let's experiment with some of these chromatic notes and add them to the scale notes. Right now is the first example. Now we're starting on a D note and ending on a D note, and I'm going D, E, F, F sharp, and then reversing F, E, D. Now that sounds like it's related to to a D chord, but just think about it in the context of playing over a G chord for right now. Even though your mind tells you D, we're going to assume that this is relating to a G chord because we are using G scale notes. All right, let's move that idea over to the third string. What if we started with the open third, G, skipped to the A note, A sharp / B flat, there's that blues scale note again, which is also outside the box, B, G, A, B flat, B, B flat, A, G. What if we move that over to the second string, B, C, C sharp, chromatic, D, which is in the scale, C sharp, C in the scale, D in the scale. And again, use your thumb and index or thumb and middle to play these notes. Alright, what about the D string again? Well, we can, whatever we do on the top string, being the fourth string, we can do on the bottom string, or the first, because they're both D notes. D, E, F, F sharp, F, E, D. Get tuned a little bit here. Alright, so what if I ran those concurrently as a practice? We'll call this chromatic practice exercise number 1. Do these notes on the D string, then move over to the G string, the B string, the D string on the bottom. Oh, sorry. Alright, now let's go a little bit further, and let's see if we can maybe, I don't know, slide or push off or hammer in between some of these notes. Let's move over to the third string and do that same chromatic walk up. But let's change it a little bit. I've added an inflection with the left hand. I've added a slide. So instead of playing that B note at the end, I'm going to slide into it, so I don't have to use the thumb index all the way through the lick. Now I'm going to reverse the notes. What if I do that on the fourth? What if I do that on the second string? First string. What if I combine all 4 strings and then play them concurrently? Well, just by doing that, now I'm just improvising right here. Right now I'm starting to get an idea for a lick. But I'm going to use the slide. And that could be a lick that covers the 5 chord da 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 da. So it could cover, you know, a 1-5, 1-4 chord progression, you know, G, D, C. But, or you could just play it over a G chord just for an experimentation. But you start hearing in your mind when you play these licks with the chromatic notes how they can be turned into ideas that sound ragtimey, jazzy, avant-garde, whatever you want to think about. All right, what about this? Well, there I'm sliding from F to an F sharp. So I'm using that chromatic / blues note because it's the same note. Small inflection, but it totally changes the character of the previous lick and actually transforms it into a totally different idea. So what you can do is just play around chromatically with these notes. You can break at any point in this experiment and say, okay, I'm going to not use the chromatic notes. I'm just going to leave those out and go back to the scale. And then you start having a hybrid idea of scale / scale with chromatics. Thinking, well, what is that? It doesn't sound like anything. What it is training your ear to know that you're playing scale, pure scale, all those are scale notes, and then chromatics. Say, okay, I'm mixing chromatics with a couple of scale notes. So you get some really cool ideas from this. So for this week's lick of the week, what I want you to do is add some of these chromatic notes and see if you can switch between scale ideas, notes that are just G scale related. And you can combine them in any way you can think of. A, F sharp. Those are scale notes, right? You notice there was an open D in there. A, F sharp, D. E, D, B, F sharp, A, B, E. Any of the scale notes. And then say, okay, now I'm going to get a little loopy and I'm going to add chromatics in there. Be amazed at the ideas that fall out. Now you're probably not going to want to play what I just played verbatim, but break it up into what? Fragments, and you come up with some pretty you start hearing string ideas that are really cool. So have fun with this. Thanks.